Good morning, students. Today we will read a very interesting play. The name of the play is The Case of Copied Question Papers. Students, this play is based on the story by Arthur Conan Doyle. Let us read pre-reading task. If you find a rough copy of the question paper that you are going to take the next day, will you inform the teacher? Inform other students about the questions? Not disclose it to anyone but learn all the questions yourself? So obviously the correct answer should be inform the teacher. Number 2, if you see that your partner is copying the answers from his notebook while taking an examination, will you ask for his help in doing your paper also? Urge him not to do so. Not bother yourself, inform the invigilator. Of course, last option is correct. If you find someone cheating, then you should inform the teacher on duty. Number 3, if you have committed a very serious mistake, will you try to hide your mistake? Confess it boldly. Students, confess means to accept, that you will accept that yes, I have done this mistake. And third, not be concerned about it. Of course, second option is correct. So, students, here you are going to read a play which is based on the dishonesty of a student, but finally that student accepted his mistake and he tried to repent it. So, let's read. It was in the year 1895. We were residing close to a library to make some researches in early English charters. So the narrator is saying that it was the incident of 1895. At that time, we were residing means living. We were living close to a library and we were there to make some researches in English charters. One evening, we received a visit from a person whom we knew. One day, the detective is telling, Detective Sherlock Holmes, he is telling that one evening we received a person whom we know earlier also. The name of that person is Hilton Soames. He was a tall man of nervous and excitable temperament. Nervous means worried and temperament means mood. So Hilton Soames was of course a professor in a college, and he was a person who was tall, and of course his nature was what kind of the nature he has? He was worried, he was having worried nature, and he was having the mood which can be spoiled quickly. It was clear that he was extremely agitated over something. Agitated means upset. Now, when he came to meet us, when Hilton Soames came to meet us, it was looking as if his mood is not good. He is worried about something. So, now let's start the dialogue, students. Soames. Mr. Holmes, can you spare me a few hours of your valuable time? We have had a very painful incident at the college. Soames is asking to Sherlock Holmes that Mr. Holmes, just give me some time out of your valuable time. I want some of the time. Why? Because a very sad incident has taken place in the college and I want you to solve that mystery. Holmes, oh really? Soames, I must explain to you, Mr. Holmes. Tomorrow is the first day of the examination for scholarship. So here Soames is telling Mr. Holmes that it is related something about the examination. Actually, tomorrow we have exam for scholarship. Students, I hope you know the scholarship. The money that you get means using that money you can get free education, right? Today about 3 o'clock, the proofs of this paper arrived from the printers. He further told Holmes that today at 3 o'clock, the proofs of the paper arrived, means the papers were ready and the papers have come for the final proofreading in case there is some mistake. I had to read them carefully as the text must be absolutely correct. Now, my duty was what? That I have to read those papers very carefully so that there may not be any mistake. At 4:30, however, I left to take tea in a friend's room. And it so happened that at 4:30, exactly after 1.5 hours, I went to my friend's room for tea, for having tea with him. My task was not yet complete, so I left the proofs upon my desk. And I haven't finished checking the papers, so I left those three papers, the papers who were in three long slips on my table as it is. I was absent for more than an hour, and I was away from my room for more than an hour. And when I returned, I was amazed to see a key hanging in the door. And when I returned after an hour, I was surprised to see that a key was hanging in the door. This duplicate key belonged to my servant, Bannister. And this key belonged to my servant, Bannister. Means one key I keep and another key is given to my servant, Bannister. He is an honest man. I thought he might have entered my room to ask for tea. And uh, of course, Bannister is a very honest servant, and I guess that he must have come to me for asking the tea, as it was my tea time. Then he might have carelessly left the key in the door. Then he had left that key in the door, maybe by mistake. Holmes, please continue. Holmes, the moment I looked at my table, I was aware that someone had reached my papers. And when I went to my room and when I saw the conditions of those papers, uh, I guessed that someone has tampered with the paper, someone has taken the papers. The proofs were in three long slips. I had kept them together. I had kept all the papers together, one after the another. But when I found that one of them was lying on the floor, one was on the side table near the window, and the third was where I had left it. But when I returned to my room, what did I find? I find that one of the papers was lying on the floor. And one paper, one slip was on the table, but it was dragged near to the window side, and the third paper was lying as it is. So the positions of the papers were changed. So I assume that someone must have touched these papers. Holmes, very interesting. Soames, a large sum of scholarship money is at stake. Stake means a sum of money gambled. A very large money of scholarship is now in danger. A wrong man might gain advantage over the other fellows. And what may happen if some dishonest person gets this scholarship after cheating after having cheated from those papers, then it would be really very bad. When I talked to Bannister about this, he nearly fainted and collapsed in a chair. And when I asked about the whole thing to my servant Bannister, he was so disturbed that he nearly got fainted, unconscious, behosh ho jana, and collapsed. Collapse means fall down suddenly. And he fell down in a chair. Do help me, Mr. Holmes. Either I must find the culprit or the examination must be postponed. Please, Mr. Holmes, help me. Please help me find out the culprit, the wrongdoer. Otherwise, the papers must be postponed. Holmes, I shall be happy to help you. Did anyone visit you in your room when you were reading the papers? Then Holmes asked Mr. Soames, just tell me, was there anyone who entered in your room when you were reading the papers? Then Soames answered, yes, Steve, a student who lives on the same floor. He came to ask me something about the examination. Then Soames answered, yes, one of the students, Steve, came to my room to ask about some information about the examination. Watson, None else in your room? And now Watson is companion, an assistant to Sherlock Holmes. And now he asked the question from Soames that besides Steve, no one came in your room? Soames said no. Holmes, then it appears that Steve alone could know about the papers. Then he assumed that only Steve could know about the papers because he came to your room and none other than Steve. So he must be the person who knows about these papers. So it seems to me. Holmes, let's go to your house and examine it. Examine means to say carefully. So Holmes suggested Mr. Soames that we should go to your house and we should examine everything very carefully. The tutor's room was on the ground floor. The teacher room was on the ground floor. Above that lived three students, Steve, Gilchrist and Ralph, one on each story. Story means building. Now the teacher lives on the ground floor and Steve also lives on the same floor. Gilchrist lives on first floor and Ralph lives on second floor. Holmes examined the room and looked at the open window near the table. Now you can see in the picture that Holmes is examining the paper and he looked at the window which was open. Right, and the table on which the papers were kept, that table was near the window. He thought for a while and then looked at the paper. He thought for some time and then started looking at the paper very carefully. Holmes, let me see the three papers. There are no fingerprints. Ah, there are some pencil shreds. Holmes says that let me examine all these three papers. There are no fingerprints and but he can see some pencil shreds lying over there. Watson, now let's see the table. There are some grains of sawdust on it. Now Watson found that there was some dust on the table as well. So now they found two proofs. One proof was that there were some pencil shreds on the table and second thing was there was some grains of sawdust on it. Holmes, Mr. Soames, now will you please call Bannister in? Now the servant was called in. Holmes, I understand that you left your key in the door. Now Holmes asked Bannister that I have been told that you left your key in the door. Bannister, yes sir, I have done this mistake other times also. Bannister told very honestly that yes, I have done this mistake earlier also. So this was not the first time that I have left my keys there. Holmes, when did you enter the room? It was about 4:30. This is Mr. Soames' tea time. So he said that I came there at 4:30 to serve tea to my master, Mr. Holmes. Holmes, did you look at the papers on the table? Then Holmes asked Bannister that have you seen the papers which are lying on the table? Bannister, no sir, certainly not. I had the tea tray in my hands, so I thought I would take the key later on, then I forgot. Bannister said that I haven't seen anything surely and actually I was having a tray of tea in my hand. So my hands were occupied. So I thought that I would take the keys later on and after that I forgot. So this is the reason. That's why the keys was hanging there. Holmes, that means anyone could go inside the room or could get out of it? Then Holmes asked that it means that very easily anyone can go inside and anyone can go out because the keys were already hanging there. Bannister, yes sir. Watson, when Mr. Soames told you about the papers, were you very much disturbed? Now Watson asked Bannister, when Mr. Soames asked you about the papers, you were much worried? Yes sir, I nearly fainted. He replied that yes, I was going to be unconscious. मैं बेहोश होने वाला था. Watson, where were you standing when you began to feel bad? Now Watson wants to know that where he was standing when he began to fall. Here, near the door. But you sat down in that chair near the window. Why didn't you sit in the chair near the door? Now it's a mystery. It's very amazing thing that when he began to feel dizzy, he was going to fall down, then he should have sit on the chair which was near the door, because he was standing near the door. But in spite of that, he went and sat on the in the chair which was near the window. So it was a mystery. It was a point of doubt. Bannister, just a chance. Holmes, were you here when your master left to meet me? Then Holmes asked, you were here when your master came to meet me for the solution of the mystery. Bannister, only for a minute. Holmes, thank you. That will do. You may go. Mr. Soames, have you mentioned about this to the three students living above? Now, Mr. Holmes talked to Mr. Soames and he asked, have you mentioned about this? This means cheating of the paper, about the cheating of the papers to any of the three students? Soames, no, sir, not a word. He said, no, I haven't said a word to any of the students. After that, Holmes, I should like to have a word with them. Is it possible? Now Holmes expressed his wish that he would like to talk to the students, all the three students. He would like to talk to them. We went up and knocked at Steve's room. He opened the door and Holmes borrowed a pencil from him for making some notes. The same thing happened at Ralph's and Gilchrist's room. Now what happened? Students, you must have understood now that why he asked for the pencil from each of the students. He asked for a pencil from Steve, then Ralph and Gilchrist, all the three students, and he made some notes. Actually, he was trying to match the pencil with those shreds that were found in Soames' room. Right? Holmes. Now, Mr. Soames, I wish you good night. I will drop in early morning tomorrow with a definite answer. Now, Holmes said to Soames that now I go to my own office and I will come early in the morning with some solution of the case. Early morning, Soames came to my room. Holmes came to my room. Watson, have you anything positive to tell to Mr. Soames? Watson asked that have you actually solved the mystery? Holmes, yes, my dear Watson, I have solved the mystery. We went to Soames' house. He was extremely worried and nervous. So, Holmes and Watson went to Soames' house and he was looking very much worried. Holmes, Mr. Soames, will you please call Bannister? Now, Sherlock Holmes told Soames to call the servant, Bannister. Bannister entered and Holmes asked him to close the door. Bannister entered inside the room and he was told by Holmes to close the room. Holmes, now Bannister, will you please tell us the truth about yesterday's incident? And Holmes asked Bannister that will you please tell us everything very, will you please tell us the truth to all that what happened yesterday about these papers? Bannister, I have told you everything, sir. Holmes, when you sat down in the chair near the window, were you trying to hide something? Now, students, if you remember that Bannister was almost collapsed. He fainted and he fell on the chair near the window. So he asked, when you sat on the chair that was near the window, were you trying to hide something? Bannister, no, sir. Holmes, didn't you let the man who was hiding in the inside room go out? Holmes asked, did you not let the person escape who was hiding in the room? Bannister, there was no man, sir. Holmes, Mr. Soames kindly called Gilchrist. Now Gilchrist was cold. Gilchrist was cold and he glanced at each of us. Glance means to look briefly. When Gilchrist came, one of the students, Gilchrist came, he looked at Soames and Holmes both. Holmes. Now, Mr. Gilchrist, we want to know why did you commit such an action? Holmes asked Gilchrist that why did you uh, read these papers secretly? What was the reason that you cheated? Gilchrist was shocked and looked at Bannister. Gilchrist was shocked. He was surprised that how did they come to know? Then he looked at Bannister. Bannister said, no, no, Mr. Gilchrist, I never said a word. Gilchrist said that I haven't told anything to anyone. Holmes, no, but you have now. I tell you the whole story now. See, no, but you have now. कह रहे नहीं बताया तुमने लेकिन अब तो बता दिया. It means Gilchrist is the culprit. I tell you the whole story now. Mr. Soames' room's window was open. The window of Mr. Soames' room was open. I tried to measure how tall a man would be to see the papers through the window while he passed. Now, I observed that what can be the height of the person and the height of the window from the ground. Only a 6 foot tall man could do it. A person who is 6 foot tall can jump inside through that window. I found out that Gilchrist was 6 feet tall. So first point is what? Gilchrist is a tall student. He is almost 6 feet tall and a long jumper also. And he is a long jumper also. And he was practicing the jump. He came back carrying his jumping shoes which had sharp spikes. Now he was wearing his jumping shoes which has studs, which has spikes. As he passed your window, he saw the proofs on your table. And as he passed through the window, he must have seen, since he is a tall man, so he has seen the papers lying on the table. He entered through the open window and put his shoes on the table, and hence the scratches on the table. And he entered through the window into the room, and while entering he put his shoes on the table, and because of that there are some scratches on the table and as well as some grains of sawdust. He put his gloves on the chair near the window and took the proofs papers to copy. Now what he did, he must have been wearing gloves, and he put those gloves on the chair which was near the window. And he started copying the papers. He wrote very fast and broke his pencil and had to sharpen it again. And he wrote in such a quick manner that his pencil was broken and he has to sharpen the pencil again. Now students, you remember that the pencil shreds match with the pencil of Gilchrist. And these pencil shreds helped me find out the culprit. So these shreds, they gave me a hint of the culprit. Looking at the shreds, I could make out that the pencil was not of an ordinary size. When I looked at the shred, I observed that the pencil is not of a normal size. Its outer color was dark blue and it had a soft lead. The outer color of the pencil means the pencil was of blue color and it has a very soft lead. I found that the same pencil in Gilchrist's rooms yesterday. When Mr. Soames came back, Gilchrist took his shoes and hid in the inside room but forgot his gloves. Now what happened? When Soames came to the room, Gilchrist took his shoes and he hid there in the room, but he forgot his gloves on the chair. Bannister pretended to faint to give Gilchrist a chance to escape. And at that time, Bannister gave Gilchrist a chance to escape. Means Bannister he acted as if he is going to faint to distract the attention of the tutor Soames. And in that way, Gilchrist ran away from the room quietly. And he sat down at the corner chair to hide Gilchrist's gloves. And what more cleverness is done by Bannister? In order to hide the gloves of gloves of Gilchrist, he sat on the chair which was near the window. Watson, Mr. Bannister, why did you help Gilchrist? Now Watson asked that why did you help this student, Bannister? I was a butler at their house before working here. He told that I was a chief cook. I was a servant at their house before working for Mr. Soames. When I saw the gloves, I recognized these as Gilchrist and wanted to save him. So when I saw his gloves, I recognized that they belonged to Gilchrist and I wanted to save Gilchrist. Holmes, is that right, Gilchrist? Holmes asked, is everything correct, whatever we are saying? Gilchrist, yes, sir. I have a letter with me. In this, I have written that I would not take the examination. Now Gilchrist said that yes, sir, everything is correct. I am the culprit. So I have a letter with me in which it is mentioned that I will not give this scholarship examination. Soames, I am pleased to hear that. Holmes, but why did you change your mood? Soames said that I am very happy that you are not giving the exam now. Holmes said that why did you change your mind, Gilchrist? There is the man who set me on the right path. And saying this, he pointed to Bannister. He spoke to me as a father and made me understand what I did was wrong. So I changed my mind and decided not to take the paper. So Gilchrist explained everything, that Bannister is just like my father. He acted in a very fatherly way and he made me understand that this cheating is a blunder that I have done and I should not have done that cheating. So I wanted to withdraw my name from the list of the students who are to give scholarship exam. Holmes, you are a young man with bright future. For once you have fallen low, let us see in the future how high you can rise. Now Holmes gave a moral talk. He said that you are a young man who has a bright future ahead. Now you have fallen down. You have fallen down means you have done something immoral. But now you have repented. You have improved your mistake. So let us see that how high you rise in your future. So this way the case was solved and Mr. Soames thanked Holmes for his help. Students, I hope you have understood. Thank you. Have a nice day.